Mike, you have a kid.
I have a kid now.
So this matters to us now.
It does. We're talking about games to play with kids / your family, which is pretty near and dear to my heart now.
What's up, everybody? My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
We are the Brothers Murph, and yeah, we're talking about kids and family games. Mike now has a kid who's a little too young for board games.
17 months, I think she's ready for Twilight Imperium.
There's games all the way down to like 2.
Dude, that's
so
what I'm
like
saying.
we're getting close, but nonetheless, we have
close.
started to think about kids games more. We have covered kids games in the past. We're like, actively trying to like collect something. Like, oh, in a couple of years, maybe Logan can play this game.
Here's the thing. They're always super fun.
Yes, they are.
That's
how you know it's a good kids game, when it's fun for the kid and
for the
fun
whole
for the
family to play.
Yes.
That's and these are all games that fit into that category for us, where it's just like we don't mind as grown, immature adults playing these games. And so we're going to talk about great games to play with the family and specifically your kids.
And give us suggestions down because Mike needs them.
Please, I need them all. So number 10 is Scribbly Gum. This is a game all about you're the Scribbly Gum worms and you're working away on trees and things, but it's kind of a path building drawing game where you are going to be given, everyone's going to be using the same movement tile. So if we flip over a movement tile and it goes up, everyone on their personal pad of paper will draw a line from a previously filled in circle that is going up on their board, or to the left, or the right, or down. So it kind of helps work on directional stuff. This is from Phil Walker Harding and Joey Games. And you're trying to have the most kind of satisfying meal possible. You want to get to those really valuable spots, because if I go to a spot that has 2 leaves, I get to cross off 2 of the leaves on the right side of my board. What's really cool about Joey Games and what they're doing is they're making specifically family weight games that are educational in nature. So the Scribbly Gum worm is a real creature in Australia. It's all Australian educational based games here with Joey Games. I think that's a really cool thing. So in the back they have information about whatever the game is themed around to kind of help facilitate that discussion piece. I think that makes a really cool component for like a family weight game, is giving some fun stuff that might teach some directional awareness, and then also getting to learn some fun facts along the way. I think it's super duper cool. So Scribbly Gum is number 10.
Our number 9 is going to be kind of a game that we bring up a lot. We kind of started to evangelize this game a lot, and this is going to be Bandido. Bandido comes in a very, very small little box, because Helvetiq, all their games come in this little box. And this is a game where there is a bandit, a bandito, who is trying to escape prison and trying to tunnel their way out. And you are basically trying to block off all of their tunnels. On your turn, you're going to have a hand of 3 cards, and these cards are just going to have tunnel paths on them. And what you're trying to do is you are essentially trying to block off all the different paths. If at any point your team, you're all in a cooperative, you're playing the game together, if you ever block off all the paths, you win the game. But it's very difficult to do so because you only have 3 cards and you have to play a card. And sometimes there's just not really a good spot for one of your cards. And you're like, I'm going to take this one exit that only has 1 path out and I'm going to turn it into 3 paths out. That made everything worse because now we have more stuff to close down. And you essentially can close down a path by 2 ways. You can make it loop back into itself, that's you closing it down, or there are certain cards that have these flashlights, and those are security guards. And a security guard is always a dead end. So you're trying to dead end different spots and trying to loop other spots back into each other. Now the reason this game is great for kids is because the rules are dead simple. You have 3 cards, and you are trying to block off the paths. It's just a pattern recognition thing that a lot of kids can get, even if they're quite young. Like we don't want the bad guy to escape. We need to block him off. How are we going to do that? And you can even play like very open-handed, have everyone's cards down the table and work together to figure out where is going to be the best spot. But it's also very difficult. It's a very challenging game, and so it'll really make them think. It's just a really good game that you can play with really young kids. And especially if you're kind of holding their hands and helping them together, because it is a cooperative game, it just goes over really well. It's also small, it's cheap, it's just a good one.
Number 8 is Dinosaur Tea Party. So this is very much a next level Guess Who kind of game. So if you grew up playing Guess Who, or you're playing Guess Who around the house and the kids really like it, Dinosaur Tea Party is a nice step up from that. In fact, you can kind of scale it down to be a very similar weight to like a Guess Who, except for now we're trying to guess who each other are, and we are all very fancy dinosaurs at a tea party. So Dinosaur Tea Party doesn't bury the lead. That is exactly what's going on here. The cool thing is that we live in a polite society and we don't want to admit that we've forgotten someone's name. That's not a, it's a faux pas really. So we want to ask questions about the features of the other players to try to figure out, based on which features are out there, who this dinosaur might be. Now, it might be features like, are you wearing a hat? Are you enjoying some tea today? Are your teeth showing? Are you spotted or striped? All sorts of things like that. Is the background, the room you're in, orange? What's really cool about this is that you have these little tea bag tokens in front of you that show all the different features. So you can flip things face up and face down based on what's been revealed about your character, so that it's just a little easier to track everything. It's a little easier to see what information is out there and to remember what features are possible in the game. So they'll all be on those tea bags. So it just kind of creates a nice, funny vibe. Everyone gets into doing British accents and being silly while doing this kind of, Guess Who game. Then if you want to take it up another level, there are these quirks that you can put on certain dinosaurs, where one of them might be that whatever the answer is, yes, my teeth are showing for real, I'm going to say the opposite, or I'm always going to say no, or I'm always going to switch from yes to no and back and forth. So there creates a little bit of paranoia around, like, they said no twice in a row. Are they the dinosaur with the quirk? I can maybe make that a guess and stuff. So it just gives a little extra layer of something to think about while being really kind of fun. And again, if you like Guess Who, Dinosaur Tea Party is going to be right up your alley.
Number 7 is really just a big toy, and that's Fireball Island. Fireball Island is so much fun, and there are definitely rules, but here's the thing, you can just set up Fireball Island and let your kid play with it. I'll play with it too. I freaking love Fireball Island. It's so fun to play around with it, but it's essentially just a big toy. But Fireball Island also ultimately has pretty simple rules, and we have played this and seen this played with very young children, because you can really modify the rules. But normally in the game, what you're doing is you're playing a card. That card will allow you to move a certain amount of spaces. You can kind of move your person wherever you want. And then sometimes they'll have an ability on them. A lot of times that will be flicking marbles at each other, trying to knock each other over. It's ultimately a pretty simple rule set. And again, you can strip this one down and make it even simpler. But a kid like 6-year-old, 7-year-old could probably play this no problem. And if you want to go lower, just have them move stuff around and then, like, try to get up to this gem and we're going to flick fireballs at you and stuff. Like, you can just play this game in really any way you want. But the game itself is not very complicated, and it's just really fun. This is one of those games where I'm like, if you can't have fun playing Fireball Island, do something else. Like, get out of board games. I don't know. It's just it's silly fun. And I think being able to have silly fun is important for everyone. Everyone needs to be a kid inside, at least to some little degree. And Fireball Island is the perfect game to do that. And you can play it with kids, small kids, older kids. It's just a blast.
Number 6 is Dodo. This is a so awesome game. It's so silly. It's perfect for kids and stuff. This is a game where you're trying to save kind of the last dodo egg by building these rickety bridges around this steep island and not letting that egg fall to the ground. This is ultimately a memory game and a real-time speed game, because what you're going to be doing is you're going to release this dodo egg, which has some sort of fairly viscous fluid in it, so it's a bit thick. I don't know if I'm getting viscosity stuff right. It's not like a molasses in there. So the ball does not just roll like you would expect. It rolls slowly. At times, it stops moving. At times, it moves quicker than you think. You cannot sort of predict how it's going to behave, but it rolls slowly enough generally that it just stays on the edge of the mountain and goes down these bridges that you build, so long as there's a bridge there in time. Now, speaking of that, we are going to be flipping over tokens, because we're going to have the next bridge piece that's going to require a certain type of iconography, like 3 different tokens of a certain type. So as you flip over tokens, if it's not one that you can put on that bridge piece, you want to remember what that token was, if it was rope or something like that, because it might be useful for the next bridge piece. You are trying to put bridge pieces, get those tokens covered so that you can put that piece onto the mountain before the egg falls off. So it's a race against time. It's a pure, simple kind of memory game. At least for us, we played it with Nikki and Lincoln. It was very hard. We did not do well. Our brains are shot, I guess, after all these years. But it's just so fun because that ball just doesn't make sense. And so again, sometimes it slides forward and the panic sets in. It's just the nature of the way that thing moves is so fascinating. It's such a fun toy to play with. It really has that great toy factor, which I think is always a good thing for kids and family games. I think that is a wonderful thing, works on that memory, and it's just a hoot. And especially if you surprise people with that ball, because I did not know it moved like that until I saw it in motion, and I was shocked.
Number 5 is a stacking game called Animal Upon Animal. Animal Upon Animal is a game by HABA where you are stacking animals, as the name says. And there are also a whole bunch of different versions of Animal Upon Animal, which is really cool. We have like a Christmas one. There's like fairy, like pony ones and just normal ones and stuff. But basically you're gonna be rolling a die, and that die is gonna kind of dictate what you have to put kind of where. And so then you're just stacking animals on top of each other, trying to not make it fall over. It's a very simple concept. We all would stack blocks as kids, and it's just, it's tough. But since all these wonderful HABA wooden pieces are wood, and they're not normal shape, because you're stacking like an alligator. An alligator is kind of bumpy, right? And so it's one of those things where it's not as simple as just stacking things. You really have to like pay attention to where you're putting it, trying to put it in a spot where it's gonna be stable, and just kids freaking love Animal Upon Animal. So the reason why there's so many different versions is because it's just a very, very good game for kids. And so we absolutely love Animal Upon Animal. It's just a blast. It's just a blast. And again, kind of like Fireball Island we talked about earlier, it's like you can also just lay out all the wood pieces and let kids play with them. They're probably gonna stack them anyway. And so it's also just a really good toy.
So number 4 is Turtle Splash. This is a game, a combination dexterity and memory game, really, where you are a turtle, you're late to the pool party at the lake. It's not your fault, you're not the fastest of foot, you're a turtle. And you are trying to find your friends who are playing hide and seek. They're all hiding from you, and that is basically representative from a 3x4 grid of tiles that are face down, showing different animals. You're trying to find all your animal friends. Now on your little player board, you have 3 rows of animals. You have to find them in order. So basically you have to flick your turtle disc that's you sliding on down to the lake. And depending on how well you flick, you get to flip over 1, 2, or 3 tiles, which gives you a better chance of finding the next animal in line, which allows you to move your beach ball. If you get through all 12 of your animals first, you are the winner. So I like the dexterity game element. It's really simple. If you're going down the ramp and you stay on the ramp, you get to flip over 1 tile. If you get to the main lake, you get to go 2. If you get to the center of the lake, you get to go 3. So it's not a punishing by any means dexterity game. The thing that's fun about the memory is I might flip over 3 animals and only one of them is actually the next one in line, but I know now, oh, the monkey's coming up, so I have to find this other animal first, and then I know where the monkey is, so I have to remember that tile for the future. So it's just great on working on memory elements, the dexterity, the motor skill stuff, really fun as well. That is Turtle Splash.
Our number 3 is a game called Yummy Yummy Monster Tummy. This is a super cute game where that is by Lucky Duck Games, who very often will harness technology in their games, which is really, really cool, because this is a game where you have a monster and you are going to need to feed that monster certain things to make them very, very happy. And you are basically trying to get this monster to be a certain color. You want them to be a specific shade of purple or a specific shade of red or something like that. And the things that you are feeding them will change their color, and you're trying to get them to that one. So it's really good at teaching kids about colors, about how red and blue make purple. And so there are these cards and things that you will be feeding them, like a banana will be yellow or something like that, and it actually has a QR code, and you will scan that QR code, and then the monster itself will actually change colors based on what you scan for them. It's super cool. It's just a really, really cool thing that I really like. I think it's super cute. And I think it's awesome. I love harnessing technology like that, especially nowadays. Technology is everywhere. It's such a cool way to teach kids about things like color. And there's also, you can play kind of party mode where you're just playing kind of like casually playing however you want. And then you can also play story mode where there's like 12 different levels that you'll go through. And if you ever get to the point where you feed a bunch of stuff and it doesn't match their color, you will lose and you'll have to start over again. But it's a really fun, silly way to teach kids about color. And it's just a cool, interactive thing that I'm like, man, I love stuff like this. I love seeing new ways to learn. I love learning about things like color and stuff like that, and just talk about, like, okay, now we need to make it a little bit more green. It's a little bit too blue. We need kind of a teal color. Let's feed them this apple and this green apple, and maybe we'll turn them a little bit more green. It's so freaking cool. I love Yummy Yum Monster Tummy because it's such a cool, interesting game, and I want to see more of it.
Number 2 is Coconuts. Crazy Coconuts, however you refer to it, it is so fun. It is a game that is as simple as these spring-loaded monkeys who are holding their hands out like this, and you get to load up a squishy coconut piece and then launch that thing across the table to hopefully land in one of the cups across the table of your opponent, which means you get to collect it and make a little stack, and if you get 6 in a row, making a little pyramid on your side of the board, you win. It is so fun. It's such a fun, silly game that, like, you can be amazing and horrible at the same time, because you're just launching, misspoke earlier, you're launching your coconuts into the middle of the board. There's this display of cups. You can also launch into your opponent's cups. And that seems easy enough. It's right there, but like dialing in the strength of the shot you need to hopefully get the right arc. And then the coconuts are kind of bouncy, and they're not round, so they bounce in weird ways. And so they might hit the bottom of the cup flush, but because of that, they bounce right out. Maybe they land in a different cup, or they just fall apart completely. You know, they land somewhere on the other side of the room. It's so fun. I just love the back and forth nature. And if someone starts building up cups, you can actually launch into their cups to steal their cups, which is really, really satisfying. The feast and famine nature of this game, where you pull off an incredible shot and then just whiff on shot after shot after shot after that, and then do something else incredible, is so fun. Literally, it's impossible to not have fun shooting coconuts around a table. It's so great. That's Coconuts.
On number 1 is another stacking game by HABA, and this is Rhino Hero Super Battle, or really Rhino Hero, but Rhino Hero Super Battle is the one we have and the one that we really like. This is a game where you are stacking cards. It's like a card stacking game where you have essentially floor cards, and then you also have wall cards, and the wall cards are kind of bent cards. You'll bend them into like a little, little triangle looking thing right there. And you'll put down walls and then put down floors as well. And so the cool thing is you can get really shifty with the way you put stuff, because you have short walls and tall walls. And so if you put a short wall, if you put a tall wall and you try to put a floor on it, it's going to slide off. That's not going to work. If the thing falls down, you lose. Basically, whoever's person was highest, or whoever's person's animal was highest, then that's the person who wins. And so it's cool because you can have a short wall and then a floor here, and then a tall wall here, and then put a short wall on top of the other short wall, and then put another floor. And you kind of start at these 3 little bases, and you can kind of combine them in to make like pretty strong structures, and you have to like sometimes hang these monkeys on them. And then every time after you place a floor, you will roll a die, and that die will move your character up or down. And then if you land on the same floor as someone else, you each have to roll a die, and then whoever wins that die roll, they then have to move down. But it's always precarious because you have to like reach in there, grab them, and put them down. And again, this game is this game is fun for everybody. It's fun for adults, but it's super fun for kids because you just get to stack stuff. You got to build this big card tower. And again, kind of like a lot of these games, you could just play with this as a toy. You could just build the biggest, craziest card tower you can and then just jump right through it if you want to. But the game itself is fun and is strategic and does teach you kind of like how balancing works, and like, oh, like I can see this whole thing kind of leaning, which means I should put something over here to kind of tug it back this way. You can really teach kids about things like that. And I think any kind of kids game does a mix of play and fun, play and teaching rather, because I think that mixing learning with play is really important for kids. I actually think it's really important for everyone, including adults. And I think we lose a lot of that as adults, where all the play is taken out of everything. And I kind of wish that wasn't the case. But I really love that in this game. And any kind of kids game like that I think is great. And Rhino Hero is just so much fun. It's our number 1 because we personally love playing this game just with adults. It's such a blast. It's our number 1. So that was our top 10 games to play with kids, families, again, some a little older, some a little younger, all that kind of stuff. There's a whole bunch of them. Again, we honestly don't know this category super well because we're not that versed. We do have a couple friends who have young kids who are like, what games? They'll give us like lists and lists and lists of games.
Excited, so man.
We're super excited to get more into this, and I cannot wait. I hope she loves games. I cannot wait till she starts playing games because it's a big part of our life, obviously. And so that is, again, put your suggestions down there so we can buy games for Logie Bear.
Please do.
And until next time, I'm Nick.
I'm Mike.
We're the Brothers Murph. We'll see you later, everybody. Bye.